Good day, everyone. Today, we are going to discuss about ecoliteracy. Ecoliteracy and sustainable development, an understanding of the principles of organization that ecosystems have involved to sustain the web of life, which is considered as the first step towards sustainability. Hence, ecological system and awareness on how society operates within natural aspects as an educational imperative. In other perspective, ecological literacy is an understanding of the principles of organization that ecosystems have involved to sustain the web of life. Sustainability is a qualitative and quantitative condition that demonstrate the human capacity to survive over time. It is qualitative in a way that we want well-being, although it is difficult to measure, but it is also quantitative in that natural capital and ecological carrying capacity can be measured with footprinting tools. It is biological and ecological imperative for human society to exist within the carrying capacity of ecosystem. Ecological literacy, therefore, provides the basis for integrated thinking about sustainability. It supports the frame of mind, ethics, and the type of practice that will support the kind of thinking that prioritizes ecological imperatives. To achieve sustainability, we must train the roots of our cultural assumptions and work on ecological literacy. Our society has created industries, processes, programs, and institutions that are destroying the ecosystem's ability to support life. This unsustainable and reckless action is a direct result of lack of ecological understanding and lack of senses of urgency. With this in mind, ecological literacy aims to replace fragmented thinking with new cognitive and social capacities necessary for the design of sustainable ways of living. Next, the ecological literate person
Ecological
and
literate
society.
person. Ecological literate person in society. Uh, this is the ability to understand the sense of the independence and interconnectedness, and that we are all part of our living things. This ano po din siya is to understand the natural system that make life on Earth possible. Ecoliterate means to understand the principle of organization of ecological communities and using those principles for creating sustainable human communities. But according to Wolf 2017, an ecological literate person can be applied such understanding to the design and organization of communities and the creation of regenerative culture. Means uh, these literacies involve applying a way of thinking that people need to learn how to interact interact in our environment. This literacy is about applying this how to understand the redesign how redesign how human acts in the world act in the world to provide food, shelter, and energy materials. And also it gives to address the complex and urgent environment issues and integrated way to enable them to help shape sustainable society that does not undermine the ecosystem upon which it depends. So, and this way of thinking, ecological person, literate person is kung paano i-solve ang mga problems sa atong environment. For example, kailangan na to para ma-solve na to, example kailangan na to mag tree planting kanang waste recycle management, tapos atong mga basura is kailangan na ato ang behavior na kanang iskan asa lang ta maglabay og basura, dapat kailangan na to siya ibutang sa proper waste management. And ang kailangan na to is nawala na ko. And also kanang dapat dili na to siraan ang nature environment kay mao siya nagata og life sa atoa. And kailangan din nato makipag-collaboration and mag-partnership sa mga tao para to build relationship and apply their understanding in the real world. In other hand, ang ecological literate society will be a sustainable society. Living system that is nested within larger system that we are for. Living thus begin with the environmental to taking care our environment, minimizing waste, reducing pollution, and using renewable energy sources. It is the only reason that people start to comprehend the impact of human activities in human development from the perspective of sustainability. The next, ma'am. Ways to develop development eco-literacy and in school. Eco-literacy established on a new integration of emotional, social, ecological forms of intelligence. Hence, it is developed learning that genuinely prepares young people for the ecological challenges presented by this entirely unprecedented time in human history. This integration is form of intelligent population, where social and emotional intelligence extends student abilities to see from other perspective, emphasize and show concern. Ecological intelligence applies this capacity to understand of natural system and minds connective skills with empathy for all of life. This form of intelligence together is eco-literacy builds on the success from reduce behavior problems to increase academic achievement of the movement of in education to foster social and emotional learning. We have identified the following 5 practices. These are, of course, not the only ways to do so, but we believe that educators who cultivate this practice offer a strong foundation for becoming eco-literate, helping themselves and their students build healthier relationship with the other people and the planet. And the next po, ma'am. Each can be nurtured in age-appropriate ways for student ranging for pre-kindergarten through adulthood and help promote the cognitive and affective abilities with the integration of emotional, social, and ecological intelligence. The one there's the five identify following five practice. One is development empathy for all forms of life. At a basic level, all organisms, including humans, need food, water, space, and conditions that support dynamic equilibrium to survive. By recognizing the common needs we shared with all organisms, we can begin to shift our perspective from a view of humans as separate and superior to a more authentic view of humans as members of the natural world. From that perspective, we can expand our circles of empathy to consider the quality of life of the other forms, feel genuinely concerned about their well-being, and act on that concern. Next page po, ma'am. And most young children exhibit care and compassion toward other living things. This is one of the several indicators that human brains are wired to feel empathy and concern for other livings. Embrace sustainability as a community practice. Organisms do not survive in isolation. Instead, the web of relationship within any living community determines its collective ability to survive and thrive. By learning about the wondrous way that plants, animals, and other living things are interdependent, students are inspired to consider the role of interconnectedness within their communities and see the value of strengthening those relationships by thinking and acting cooperatively. Other students might follow the approach taken by a group gather data about the sources of their energy and amount of they use and then survive their peers by asking. This project can give students the opportunity to start building a community that values diverse perspectives, that common good, and strong network of relationship and resiliency. Number 3, make the invisible visible. For some cultures still in existence today, the path between a decision and its consequence was short and visible. It is a homesteading family cleared their land of trees. For example, they might soon experience flooding, soil erosion, a lack of shade, and a huge decrease in biodiversity. But the global economy has created blinders that shield many of us from experiencing the far-reaching implication of our action. By leaning educators can help through a number of strategies. They can use phenomenal web-based tools such as Google Earth to enable students to travel and view the landscape in other regions and countries. They can also introduce students to technological applications such as Good Guide and Food Docate, which call from a great deal of research in package it in easy to understand format that reveal the impact of certain household product in our health, the environment, and the social justice. Number 4, anticipate unintended consequence. Many of environmental crises that we face today are the unintended consequences of human behavior. For example, we have experienced intended but grave consequence for developing the technological ability to access, produce, and use fossil fuels. These new technological capacity have been largely viewed as progress of our society. Teacher can teach a student a school full of noteworthy strategies for anticipating intended consequence. One strategy is the precautionary principle, can be boiled down to this basic message. And the last is the understanding how nature sustain life. Ecoliterate people recognize that nature has sustained life for eons. As a result, they have turned to nature as their teacher and learned several crucial tenets. Three of those tenets are particularly imperative to ecological living. First of all, ecological people have learned from the nature that all living organisms are members of a complex, interconnected web of life, and that those members inhabiting a particular place depend upon their interconnectedness for several. The second, people tend to be more aware that systems exist on various levels of scale. In nature, organisms are members of systems nested within other systems, from the micro level to the macro level. Each level supports to others to sustain life. When students begin to understand the intricate interplay of relationship must sustain an ecosystem, they can be better appreciate the application for several that even a small disturbance may have, or the importance of strengthening relationship that help a system respond to disturbance. And finally, the last is that people collectively practice a way of life that fulfills the needs of the present generation while simultaneously supporting nature's inherent ability to sustain life into the future. Next, ma'am. So there are the 7 environmental principles of nature. This is the key to understand the environment problem that we encounter today is to learn about our ecosystem. Number 1, nature knows best. This principle is the most basic. In fact, encompasses all the others. Humans have to understand nature and have to abide by the rules nature dictates. It is since one must not go to against the natural processes if one would like to ensure a continuous and steady apply of resourcement. This natural process that needs to serious attention in nutrient cycle. In nature, nutrients pass from the environment to the organism and back to the environment. Any disruption in the cycle can bring amount and balance. For example, burning of farm wastes instead of allowing them to decompose naturally disrupt the cycle. The second, all forms of life are important. Each organism plays a fundamental role in nature. Since such an occupational or functional position, otherwise known as niche, cannot be simultaneously occupied by more than one species, it is apparent that all living things must be considered invaluable in the maintenance of homeostasis in the ecosystem. It is easy to appreciate the beautiful butterflies, especially knowing their important role in pollination. Third, everything is connected to everything else. This principle is the best exemplified by the concept of the ecosystem. In an ecosystem, all biotic and abiotic components interact with each other to ensure that the system is perpetuate. expected. Any outside interference may result in imbalance in the deterioration of the system. Number four, everything changes. It is said that the one permanent thing is change. As a general classification, change may be linear, cyclical, or random. As example of linear change is evolution of species, which has brought about higher and more complex types of organisms. A cycle change may be simplified by season and the rhythms in flora and faunal life and stage that go with the season. Next is everything must go somewhere. When a piece of paper is thrown away, it disappears from sight, but it does not cease to exist. It ends up elsewhere. Gases released in smokestack may disperse, but it will end up a component of the atmosphere or brought down by rains. What a particular type of waste does not to earth repository should be of concern to us. It may be the pollutant or the resource dependent on the certain factors. And the last ones are ours is a definite earth. The earth resources can be classified as either renewable or non-renewable. Renewable resources are those that can easily be replenished by natural cycles, example water, air, plants, and animals, while non-renewable resources are those that cannot be replenished through natural cycles, example rich of various metals, oil, and coal. Although renewable resources can be replaced, it is important to note that these are renewable also only as long as they are not overused nor destroyed from such factors such as pollution. And the last one is nature is beautiful and we are stewards of God. Among of creature, humans are the only ones made in God's image in having given the right to have dominion over all his creation. Being the most intelligent and gifted with reason, humans are capable to manipulating creation to their own advantage. Yet creation exists not to be ravaged of abuse or abused, but to be taken care of. Humans cannot exist without nature. They are co-natural with the environment they live in. If the environment they live in destroy within go Homo sapiens.
Towards a green schools and education for sustainable development. When developing academics as well as environmental ethics, school plays a great role. School environment should encourage, support, and nurture students' capacities on green environment as integrated. So, the green school is differs from the normal natural science curriculum of the schools in terms of more practical and activities such as games and or do it yourself. As we all know that every schools elects at least 5 environmental brigades every year, and they are responsible for making sure that everyone abides by the rules of the green school. So katong na-elect na 5 environmental brigades kay they're making sure that everyone or nag-follow sa rules sa green school. Like for example, in the class, they learn on how to tree plant and measurement of all areas that needed, and also they learn about the what kind of mga puno na ilang pangtanom. The advantages of this approach is that children learn to work together in groups and practice on how to socialize because para ma-overcome nila ang ilang fear or pagka-introvert. So this is not only makes learning more fun, but this is proven way to improve learning. Next po. Next po. Green School, the concept and background. In 1990s, Europe has introduced the concept of Green School while Rio Earth Summit to recognize of the need to take action in every area in which human impacts on the environments. There was a continuous misuse and abuse of natural resources in quest for development that would land the future to be at stake. So it is recognizing the education as a critical means to achieve sustainability to the United Nations as part decade of the education to maintain and to integrate principles, values, and practices in all aspects of education learning. Next po. Next po. Green schools and ESD. It is visualized as a school guided by the principle of environmental sustainability. It is aspired to create a conducive environment to fully utilize all resources and opportunities inside and out the school. It promotes the environmental sustainability through various and environmental friendly means and encourage judicious use of resources. So by creating a conducive environmental sustainability to utilize all resources and opportunities inside and outside the school. So it is engaged into the community by creating an environment that caters to the physical, mental, and emotional needs of a child by giving them a school environment that is physical safe to them and emotional secured. Their an active involvement in the community and help students that learning outside school can gain their knowledge about interrelationship and issues that acquire life skills and would help them foster attitudes, the values, and sensitivity towards environmental concerns. That's all. Next po. Okay. Kay at kuwanan siya kay
Okay, so good evening. Hello, classmates. Hello, sir. Essential aspects of green school environment. Green school has clean, healthy, protective, and green surroundings. It promotes both the physical and the psychosocial health of learners and other in school. So when we say essential, it could be easily adopted by by the students, by the teachers. So it has a clean, healthy, and protective green surroundings for all students and also for the family of the student. Next slide. Understanding green curriculum. Environment is encompassing, multidisciplinary, and dynamic, has a scientific, social, economic, political, and technological dimensions. Number two, being holistic, a green curriculum views environment as all that is around and aims to give a better understanding of the way the work function, inspiration, its alteration because of the action of human race and its consequences. It's stated there that in the first paragraph that environment is encompassing, multidisciplinary, and dynamic. So when we say environment, it could be included scientific, social, economic, political, and technological dimensions. Next slide, please. Number three, it holistically addresses sustainability concerns such as protection and conservation of natural resources, tradition, culture, and heritage, safety, security, physical and emotional assurance, health and sanitation issues, concerns for equity and justice and interconnection between and among natural, social, physical, and cultural environment. Number four, this requires a teaching learning approach where students are provided time and space to explore different phases of environment and interconnected them. Number 5, a green curriculum is a mutual concern of teachers and students. Next slide. Creating a green school. Green school creates a healthy environment conducive to learning while saving energy, either the environmental resources and money, hence green school. Green school can reduce environmental impacts and costs because green school, when you say hindi siya nagagamit of electricity, so it could not be high in cost. So number 2, improves occupants' health and performance. So the more open ang area, the more student can occupy the space. Not like just the closed classroom na limited lang ang tao nga ang estudyante na makasulod. Number 3, increases environmental and sustainability literacy. Nagataas environmental daghan ang ma-sustain through environmental literacy. Next slide, please. There are characteristics of green school. Number 1, it protects health. Asthma is the primary cause of poor school attendance, and schools with poor indoor air quality usually have numerous asthma precursors. Schools built with more daylighting, better ventilation, and healthy green building materials like non-VOC carpets and paints are healthier for students and staffs and result in fewer sick days. So, green school can protect our health. And second one, it increases student performance. A lack of fresh air can reduce student attentiveness. Students have shown that student test scores can improve up to 20% when kids learn in green classrooms that have more daylighting, improved classroom acoustics, and healthier paints and carpets that don't release toxic chemicals into the air. So, green school, nag-increase po siya sa students' performance. Kaya dili man siya dili siya close, so we can adopt more fresh air. So, dili ta maluya. Kaya for example, ma-close sa isa ka classroom na igang. So, ang attention ni a student, mawala na sa focus dun sa kabigli or kapangit sa surroundings. The third one, it saves energy and money. Operating costs for energy and water in a green school can be reduced by 20% to 40%, directing more funding towards teachers' salary, textbooks, and computers. So, green school, kanang makasave pa ta og energy, makasave pa tag money. Just like for example, sa kong iyon din na di na kinahalan og aircon. So, natural air lang ato ang fresh air lang atong ma-encounter. So, di nata kinahanglan pa magdunga og electric fan. So, makasave tag energy and also makasave tag money. Number 4, it reduces carbon emission. Green schools significantly reduce carbon dioxide emissions. Building 34 new green schools in Los Angeles alone would reduce 94,000 tons of CO2, the equivalent of eliminating more than 15,000 cars from the road every year, or planting more than 280,000 trees. So, nag-reduce po niya sa carbon emission. So, when we say carbon, syempre malanghap nato niya sa air. So, mag-reduce siya og 94,000 tons. So, equivalent na siya sa murag nagtanggal ta og 15,000 cars from the road kada tuig. So, the more daghan ta og cars, diba, mas populated because vehicles uses petroleum that releases dirty air. So, mo na siya makapollute na tuwa. So, if we use green school, no need na ang mga cars kay when mas daghan mata mas okay pa nga magplanting tag trees, moabot siya og 280,000 trees per year. So, the fourth one is fifth, it reduces water usage. On average, a green school reduces water usage by 32%. This reduction has direct savings for the building, as well as substantial societal benefits, such as reducing stormwater runoff and transporting and treating wastewater. So understandable naman siya. So let's proceed to number 6. Improve teacher retention. A green school can reduce teacher turnover by as much as 5%, which improves student learning and school community and can result in financial savings for the school. So, ma-improve po niya siya sa teacher retention kay ma-improve man na ato ang student learning at school community. So, dagan tag ma-save na money. Dili ta maggasto pa nga. Kailan ta mag-teacher sa outside sa atong city, then so additional fund na po na siya sa school. The next one, it provides daily attendance. Students in green schools are absent less frequently by reducing absenteeism just 15%. A typical elementary school would save $40,000 to $60,000. So, dili ang estudyante na to mas attentive sila to attend classes. Next one, it provides a unique educational opportunity. Buildings can become teaching tools and important features of science, math, and environmental curriculum. When green features and advanced technology and design in schools are used to excite kids about learning real-world applications of green technologies. BPS is committed to using schools and schoolyards as living laboratories. So, buildings can become teaching tools kanang di ba naman tayo, for example, natay mga science laboratory, math laboratory, so more daghan may bala ng ato ang estudyante advanced. And then, it create green jobs. Investing in building green schools is an investment in green jobs, including green construction, building product manufacturing, and green architecture. Number 10, it improves quality. Greening public schools creates an opportunity to improve the health and educational setting for all students while taking into account students' diverse identities and needs. Next slide, please. Dark Green School Program, Philippine Environmental Perspective. Be clean, admit as evidence of good management and housekeeping. Dali naman kasi sabton, so we need to be clean, admit as evidence na makita sa tuwa nga limpyado ta or mas okay tan-awon kung limpyo ka or neat ka to other people. So the second one, call for green spaces, appropriate land use, planning, conservation of material and energy, proper waste management, segregation, use of appropriate material, and avoidance of harmful ones, and respect to others' right to smoke-free air. So, klaro naman kayo diri na we should educate ourselves to be responsible enough na, for example, sa itong proper waste management, even though na dili kayo ni siya appeal sa ato ang klase everyday, pero we can apply it by our own. So, kung ikaw, mapunta ka sa glabay, so how much more the others? How can you blame others if you still do that by yourself? So let's proceed. Have managed policies and guidelines that would create a healthful and ecological campus. So in every classroom, in every schools, budgetary rules, natay policies and guidelines para dili ta magawatak-watak. So we have a natay panalundon or natay sundon nun, natay tanawon na guidelines para kabalot kung asa ta dapat. So, next slide, please. Next slide. Have a well-planned environmental curriculum for all levels, adequately oriented and trained faculty, and administrative, library, and financial support. Have faculty and students who are aware of and appreciate the environmental program of the school. So faculty and students they have to be aware to appreciate sa mga programa sa school na good for our environment. So reach out to an outside community, spread concern for Mother Earth, and facilitates projects and programs that improve the environment. So, di na to pwede, di na tataman. So, we have to connect more people. Kailan mo doon sa lahi pang ahensya kay para mo makagather ta og some information or some techniques para makatabang sa pag-improve sa atong environment. It dili ingon nato nga dili lang jud ta no, we should explore more. So next, engage in research that adds knowledge in the ways of nature and the impact of human activities. So kini palang daan one of the severe damage of our environment is a man-made, di ba? So, for example, mga mining nato, so dako jud siya impact sa tuwa, especially for those who live near the mountains that has been under by mining. So, maapektuhan jud ang ilang panginabuhi every day. So, next slide. So, this will be reported by the next reporter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Okay, in continuation with our topic, I will now discuss the ecological living practices and the integrating ecological literacy into the curriculum. So when we say ecological living practices, these based on different sets of principles, and in order to assess the impact of our choices and actions, we will be needing criteria from studying the basic facts of life. First, we have the matter cycles continually through the web of life. Second, most of the energy that drives the ecological cycles flow from the sun. Third, we have diversity assures resilience. Fourth, we have one species wastes another species food. And lastly, we have life does not take over the planet by combat, but through networking. So the environment repercussions of our activities, which are caused by the socioeconomic and political systems of society, they're described by the dimension of sustainability. We have environmental, economic, and social factors. So these three all play a role in a long-term development. Now, ecological living begins with addressing the causes of adverse environmental impacts. As a result, ecological living and literacy give people with the tools, knowledge, and wisdom that they need to act on their deep desire to contribute to a better future world. Therefore, when we say ecological living, this means to live in a way that respects and replenish the carrying capacity of our planet, to honor our interrelatedness with all expressions of life, to enhance the qualitative aspects of our relationships, and of course to bring the best of our human capacities for the co-creation of an ecological, sustainable, and caring world. So according to Smithsman of 2014, he mentioned that in order to support the change for sustainability through ecological living, we have to sustain other actions for ecological living through inspiration from the inner or personal development. Ma'am, next slide. Siguro po. So we have here the inner ecology and outer ecology. In inner ecology, we have 8 that is mentioned. So first, we have become a catalyst of change to help co-create a better world and future. Now, when we say catalyst, it means participate, engaging, or in other words, taking part. So as a human, it is important to be to make a change and participate in creating a better world, not just for the sake of us, but also for the future. Second, we have care for and relate with non-human beings while spending time with nature. This is very, very ideal, especially today. Most of the people tend to neglect the nature and other living organisms, which is very important. As a human, it is our duty to connect with our environment. Third, make most of the sustainability crisis that forces us to learn, dream, think, design, act, and relate in new ways. Fourth, we have joined the rest around the world in becoming agents of sustainability. Just like what I've said earlier, humans are encouraged to take part in joining in creating a better world. And one of that is through sustaining. Fifth, we have nurture nature by taking care of our body and becoming aware of our natural body rhythms. So this is so important since we are the one who will be taking care of our nature. It is important to take care also of our body and health as well. Because how can we take care of our environment if we don't even give value to our body and health, right? Six, we have become more energy efficient and learn to recycle our own energy. Seventh, we have learned to compose our own waste and no need to dump this onto others. I guess this is understandable and this have been taught to us ever since, right? Composing of our own waste, since it decreased the amount of waste for disposal. It saves, it saves space in landfills and conserves natural resources. Eighth and the last one, becoming aware of right, needs, and well-being of our future generation and explore how we can support this action. So, diba, we're not just doing these things for us, but also for the future generation. It is like our responsibility to become aware and be literate also for them. So they'll have a better future and better environment when the time comes. Next slide. Next slide po for the outer ecology. So we have outer ecology. This is also known as the environment. I mean the outer environment. The environment beyond inside, and it is marked outside the boundary, either real or virtual, with indefinite area. So first, we have educate ourselves about the resource that we have. Before that, pala, I will just we have wait lang po. We have 12 outer ecology. So these are educate ourselves about the resource that we utilize to fulfill and sustain our needs. Second, we have reduce, reuse, repurpose, and recycle. Again, this has been taught to us ever since, diba? Like, whenever we use plastic or anything. Fourth, third, be aware of the real price of goods and services that we use. Cheap products often have hidden costs. Fourth, we have find out any child labor practices or natural resources that were sacrificed in the process of producing products and services. Fifth, we have recycle gray water. Six, we have collect and use rainwater. Seven, create an organic vegetable garden. Eight, compose organic waste and use the compost in the garden. Nine, we have create garden with a balance of endemic, indigenous plants to support local wildlife like animals, insects, trees, and plants. 10th, we have create a roof garden or green roof as a natural air conditioning alternative to increase garden space. 11th, we have buy organic and local products as much as possible. 12, we have support local businesses and organizations that care for our planet. Next, we have the integrating ecological literacy curriculum. So the Center for Ecoliteracy, it promotes a variety of teaching strategies based on practices that are developmentally appropriate to students' level and are brain-based to foster knowledge, skills, and values essential to sustainable living. Students learn best when teaching strategies are varied that include hands-on activities, time for reflection, thoughtful discussion, and combined indoor and outdoor environments, including interdisciplinary projects. So we have here integrating ecological literacy into the curriculum, and we have strategies in learning. And now we will be discussing 5. I believe that this has been discussed by the first group, but we will still give you a summary and provide an example after. So first, we have place-based learning. When we say place-based learning, it is an experimental learning that engages students in their own environments and strategies that captures their imagination and advances environmental stewardship and civic engagement. These engages students in their community, including their physical, environmental, local, culture, history, or people. With place-based learning, students get to see the result of their work in their community. For example of this is having a high school student research their own town in regards with environment, including the history and the issues. So through this can help them see ways to contribute to the environment in their community. Next, we have project-based learning. It is a strategy that involves students in projects that use a variety of resources, including the community, technology, outside experts, written resources, and the web, while the teacher usually serves as a facilitator of learning. So project-based learning, in other words, project-based learning is an instructional approach designed to give students the opportunity to develop knowledge and skills through engaging project sets around challenges and problems they may face in the real world. Example of this is project-based learning idea is an connecting to ecological is through planting school garden. A school garden is a fantastic opportunity for students of all ages to gain hands-on knowledge about growing. So next we have Socratic inquiry. Socratic inquiry, this is named after the Greek philosopher Socrates, who believed that question stimulate learning. So in other words, this involves a shared dialogue between teacher and students. So in Socratic inquiry, the teacher leads by posing two provoking questions. Students actively engage by asking questions of their own, and the discussion goes back and forth. Under this method, there are different strategies that teachers can interrogate their pupils. In most cases, teachers may choose a student at random and question them throughout the class. Next, we have experimental learning. Now, experimental learning is an engaged learning process whereby students learn by doing and by reflecting on their experience. I'm sorry. Instead of reading about animals, students may go to zoo to learn about them via observation. Rather than watching a movie about photosynthesis, students can grow their own plants and learn about them. Another example is practicing the cleanup or sustaining energy in the school, and also the 3R, which is the reduce, reuse, recycle inside the class or the classroom, or I mean the school. And lastly, we have the interdisciplinary learning. So in interdisciplinary learning, this interdisciplinary approach, this expands what students learn by allowing them to tackle problems that don't fit neatly into one subject. It is also changes how students learn by asking them to synthesize multiple perspectives instead of taking what they're told by teacher at face value. Interdisciplinary learning teaches students, including the ability to recognize biases, to thinking critically, to embracing ambiguity, to analyzing ethical concerns. So, example of interdisciplinary approach is when you give an essay in regards with, let's say, the nature. Students would use evidences then from many fields to synthesize their learning in response to the essay question that the teacher provided, and this method would help them to assess their learning. So that is all for our discussion today. Thank you everyone for listening, and have a great day.